Hey guys, this is Crystal with Little Creations for the Cricut again, and today I'm going to show you how to make a layered image like this one, the Just a Note me and Dad image. It says mouse, but I call it a bear. Anyway, we're going to make this image today, and we're going to simply be cutting it one time using one mat with all of the colors that we're going to be using and having it all cut out at once. Some people have had questions about this, so I'm hoping to be able to answer your questions today. There's a couple different ways to do this, and it has a lot to do with manipulating your images so that they fit correctly on your mat. So the first thing we're going to do is going to our keypad screen, and we're going to pay attention to these bottom keys right here today, and I'm going to quickly go over them. This first key is your backspace key. It erases something that you accidentally typed or that you don't want anymore. This is your spacebar key. Each space represents basically one of the squares on your mat. A little shy, but it represents one of those. You can go by that pretty good as a rule of thumb. This next key is your return key. It's good for going to the second layer of your mat or second level of your mat. This is the undo button, the redo button, and then this is the Xing out key. You can have a plethora of images up here. Click this button and it will erase all of them. That was my word for the day, plethora. Anyway, okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to choose my image, and it's the base layer of the little bear. And then what I'm going to do on my screen is I'm going to go ahead and space between each image so that it gives me room with my paper. Now, I'm going to go ahead and look at my screen, my mat screen really quick, and see, there's my bear. Now, I know that manipulating my image is important here because I have 4 different layers that I'm doing, and they're all going to be this size. I've spaced already, so my next one's going to be around here somewhere, and then my other 2 are going to end up down here because they're not going to fit going across. So I think the best thing for me to do is to rotate this image so that, well, let me show you why, okay? So let me go ahead and go back into the keypad screen. I'm going to click my shift lock to do my next layer. And then, oh, hey, wait a second. It messed up. I must have pushed my cursor somewhere. Okay, make sure when you're on this that your cursor's where you want it to be. So I want it after the space. And now I can press my little guy and he will come after the space. Yay! Okay, the next thing I want is another little space. And I'm going to go ahead and in the handbook, you'll see that there's a bow layer. And so I'm going to go ahead and stick the bow layer on the top part of the mat because I know it'll fit before I do my other layers that have to go on the second part of the mat. So I'm going to go ahead and click my layer 2 and, oh, no, shift, and click the bow. Okay, now I know that that is basically all that's going to fit on the top row of my mat, and I'll show you that by looking at the mat. There you go. So let's go ahead and go back to our screen and hit our enter key. Okay, now I can go ahead and add my layer 1 image. I'm going to space again between that image. I'm going to hit my shift for my layer 1 and do the shift layer. Okay, now it looks like those disappeared, but they didn't. They simply filled up the line, so it went to the next part. You can backspace here and see all your images. So let's go to the mat, and I'll show you what it looks like now. Okay, now this looks pretty good. The only problem with this here is that these sections are very close together, and there is a chance that your colors could run into each other. For instance, I cut one, and one of my toes, this image was cut in pink, this image was cut in gray, and part of my toe got cut off into the gray. So it didn't work out for me. So I had to figure out how to manipulate these even on here to get them to line up. So let me show you what I did. Okay, I went back through, I came back to my images here, and I clicked my first image, and I went to the pencil, and I skipped the size because it's already the size that I want it. I came all the way down here to my rotate button. I clicked it once. Okay, and I did that to each one of my images except for the bow. So I'm simply rotating each image. Let's see, let's rotate this one. Rotate. Now I need to move this arrow so I can see my last image. Click on it, click the pencil, rotate. Okay, now let's look at our mat and see what it looks like with the images rotated. Pretty good. Now, as you can see, it's still pretty close, and my ribbon or my bow is really close. So let's say they're not as close though. There is more room, but let's say I wanted a little bit more room because I really wanted to make sure that they didn't cut over each other. I'm going to go back to my image screen. I'm going to come back to where I hit my return arrow, and I'm actually going to put another return. Now let's look at my mat and see how it looks. Wow, check that out. There's absolutely no way that I'm going to accidentally overlap my paper. Now, let's go back in and fix where the bow is. So we have to go over here, find our bow. There's our bow. And let's see. I think possibly, now this is something I'm playing with to see if it works. I'm going to space my bow a couple times. Let's see what happens. Yeah, that's exactly what I want. I'm going to space it one more time. So my cursor is still here between the bow and the space. So I'm going to add another space. Look at my mat. Oh, I went too far. I went too far with my bow. So I'm going to actually backspace that one. So I'm going to backspace and just do the one. Okay. So let's go back to our mat. Yay. Okay. So now I can simply put my paper on my mat where these images are. And an easy way to do that is just to count your squares. So I can tell that my first base layer is 2.5 blocks long and about 4 1/8 blocks, 2.5 blocks wide and 4 1/8 blocks long. So I'm going to make sure my paper goes there. My second image, I can see this is my 6 line, my number 6 line. It starts slightly to the right of the number 6 line, and it goes a little bit into the number 2 block. So I'm going to make sure it's that long. These guys, and the ribbon, I'm going to make sure is in the 5th block, or actually that's the 8th block if you're counting from this way. And it's, a really small piece, so I'll make sure I just have a piece of paper there. And then these guys down here, here's the 6 line over here going horizontal. I'm going to make sure that they are in the 2nd block from the 6 line and that they're 4 1/8 blocks long, and the same here. So let's go ahead and lay out my paper, and I will show it to you when I get done doing that. Okay guys, I just wanted to let you know that I decided not to do the ribbon, so I deleted it from my mat. Now, I actually deleted it in the image screen because if I would have deleted it from my mat, it would have made these go onto a second mat and it would have been all confusing. So I just simply came in here. Before I had a space, and then I had the ribbon. So I just deleted the ribbon and then I backspaced all the spaces out. So now let me show you my full image line here. So now we have my base layer, space, top base layer, return, layer 1, base, space, layer 2, or layer 1, shift, base. Okay, so here it is on the mat. Looking good, people. And here it is on my mat. I have my black base, my purple shift base, my layer 1 base, and my layer 1 shift base. And I have them all lined up. I make sure that they start where the lines are and so forth. So let me make sure. I think this layer right here needs to be moved up slightly, and I'll tell you why. Let me look at the screen and I'll show you. The reason why is because I can see that he starts above this number 5 line here. So I have it right at the number 5. Well, it's the number 7 line. I have it right there. So I need to move this up slightly. Let me go ahead and do that. Okay, so it finished cutting, and I just wanted to show you each image before I peeled it off the mat. That it cut everything. It didn't miss anything. It didn't, you know, I didn't miss a spot with my paper. That it cut exactly how I lined it up. So now I'm going to take them off my mat and put it together and show you the finished result. Okay, guys, so I've put it together. Oh, there we go. And I went ahead and cut out the ribbon. When I cut out the ribbon, I cut it 3/4 to an inch larger than the layers because it cuts out so small that it's really hard to use. And I don't even put the earpieces in there. I'm probably going to take some ink, pink ink, and and ink my ears. But there's the image. It cut out perfectly. Here's a very important tip. If you're going to rotate part of the images to fit them on the mat, rotate all of the images, because if part of the images are vertical and the other part of them are rotated, the layers will not line up. They have to all be going the same direction. For instance, when I cut out this guy, all of them were facing this way. None of them were rotated. But when I cut this guy out, all of them are facing this way. So they all lined up really well. And earlier I had tried, in fact, I'll show you really quick. Earlier I had tried to do one where part of them were up and then this layer and this layer were this way, and they did not line up. I don't know how well you can see, but the eyes didn't line up because the eyes should be slightly off, and they did not line up at all. And the ears didn't line up either, so it just didn't look right. It's hard to see here, but trust me, they did not line up. And the feet didn't really line up either. You can still see the pink when really you shouldn't. So there's the last tip. Just make sure whichever direction you're doing that all the layers are doing that direction. I know today was a long video. I'm sorry. I just hope that you guys learned something, and I feel like I was just a mess throughout it, but we'll see. So thanks, guys. Have a great day, and God bless.